Hey everyone, it's Chris with HotShotsCatering.com, and this is another episode, you know it, Hot Shots TV. How much of Hot Shots do you know about? How much of me, Chris, your host, do you know about? Well, today we're going to go over all of that. I'm going to tell you how I started this company, as well as we're going to go over some news and some other things. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Just enjoying my shot of Lavazza espresso. As you know, at Hot Shots, that's our main espresso that we use for all of our gourmet lattes. But before we get into all of that, I want to talk and go over some of the week's news. And the first one I'm going to go over is actually something new that Starbucks is doing. So Starbucks, if you don't know already, they do kind of, I believe they have a mobile app, if you will, and you can put your orders and things like that in. And I'm not sure if that's all their locations, but I think it's just a handful of locations that they probably do. Some of you guys might know this more than I do. I'm not a frequenter of Starbucks, but I do like the occasional frappe and things of that nature. But what's something that's interesting, and this is very comparative to kind of, I feel like they're finally starting to understand, or maybe it's just they're kind of the forefront of the trends, as you will. But understanding that mobility and getting coffee to the consumer quickly and efficiently is kind of the main goal, right? So that's what we do at Hot Shots, believe it or not. We kind of do the perverse angle of we don't really have a place for someone to come into a store, sit down and enjoy and spend an entire day for a cup of coffee. We actually go on site and deliver the coffee experience to the end user. And so what they've created now is they're opening, as you might have heard in Chicago, they're opening a huge Starbucks Reserve, which is one of their kind of more their premier stores that they have. You know, they do more pour overs and siphoning and things of that nature. So they're opening one that actually is going to be in Penn Station. But the stores are going to be pickup only stores. So there's not really a clear cut of how they're going to be doing this, but it sounds like for the most part that you would place your order online, probably pay for it in advance, and then they would somehow know your name, maybe write it on the cup, and then it'd be ready for you to pick up in some fashion. But they're going to dedicate stores or some type of thing strictly to this. And if you've been following my social media, we've been posting about kind of how robotics and things have gotten more and more into the realm of coffee. And so maybe Starbucks is seeing that. You know, maybe they're seeing more of companies like ourselves that are becoming more and more mobile. I don't think so, because I don't think they understand it yet. But I will say it's very interesting to see that they're going to slowly take steps to do this. It seems like they're putting their toes in the water of getting started to kind of get the idea that everything, not just coffee, but a lot of things, your grocery stores, all these different things, the faster you can get it to the consumer, the better. And I think eventually they're going to get that with their Uber Eats program. And the same with us. As we grow, we're going to be able to do that even faster than a lot of these other organizations can. So it's very interesting. I think it's something that is very cool. And I'm glad that they're starting to see it. I won't get into detail on this because there's not a lot of detail about it. But I first wanted to just mention that as one of the news articles that kind of popped out to me. Here's another one. California coffee shops are ditching disposable to-go cups for reusable metal options. And I think this is a great idea. You know, whether you look at the straws and the whole thing that happened with the straws, the plastic straws and all these different things, I think it's a good way to, you know, regardless of where your politics are on all this, I think it's a good thing to think about. You know, in the future, we're only going to be running out of materials to do things, and whether it's for the environment or not, really we need to take a look at a lot of this stuff and say, in the future, what's going to be easier to produce and what's going to be easier for people to kind of be able to kind of utilize Do we have to have styrofoam cups and all this stuff, or should we be able to have maybe metal cups and all these other things that make it just easier? You bring it, you sanitize it, and you bring it, or there's a sanitizer system that a company would use in order to fill bottles or what have you. I don't know what the extent of this is, but I'm assuming that's what it is. And I'll tell you, a lot of people get offended with us at times because at Hot Shots, our policy is they'll come back up with the same paper cup that we made their first latte in. And people kind of get offended when we tell them, well, no, sir, we can't reuse that cup. You know, typically if it's a cappuccino or something where we're just refilling, that's fine. But primarily our policy is if it's a latte with flavors or anything else like that, we just simply don't do it. And it's not because we're trying to say, oh, we hate the environment, we don't want to reuse a cup, or we're trying to be very posh and give you a clean cup every time. It's actually because we actually stir our lattes. A lot of other companies don't do that, and so we actually have to be sterile in how we and sanitary in how we actually stir and produce our lattes. So that's the reason why we don't do it. But it's interesting, all this stuff kind of goes in hand, and so they're talking about metal options. 11 coffee shops in Berkeley, California are doing their part to cut down single-use coffee cups by giving their customers the option to temporarily borrow a stainless steel cup when they order their next latte to go. The participating cafes have joined forces with Vessel, a Colorado company that says its goal is to positively disrupt the disposables industry. So that's pretty cool. We might have to check that out ourselves. So January 1st, 2020, restaurants, cafes, and coffee shops in the city will be required to have certified compostable foodware on offer, and using a disposable cup will add an extra 25 cents to the bill. So something that's interesting, and I think that's a really cool offering. But I'll tell you this too, a lot of major corporations are going this route. I won't mention any names, but there's a lot of major corporations that we deal with on a weekly and daily basis, and getting compostables, I guess is how they call it, is more and more of a popular trend that we've been seeing. And so I think that's something that, like I said, I think in the future, eventually you're going to have something that digitally produces coffee somehow, and it will probably be in some kind of stainless steel cup that you just reuse over and over and over again. So anyways, I think that's interesting. And then the last article I'm going to go over with you guys is I saw this, I thought this was pretty interesting. By the way, that last one I just mentioned was from Food and Wine, and the one prior to that was Elite Daily. So I'll put these all down in the description box as you guys are listening. And then the other one is Lad Bible, is the company or magazine, and it says, Mom forced to feed 1-year-old 1.5 liters of coffee per day. So I think this is very interesting, and you'll see the pic whenever you go search the source of this. But a lady basically said that her child was forced to drink coffee. She forced her child to drink coffee because there wasn't milk available. And so I think it's very sad. It's a very interesting topic, but now she's saying that, I don't know how to pronounce the child's name, but she's only 14 months old and is now addicted to caffeine. Her mom admits that she won't sleep if she had not had her fix, saying that she drinks about 1.5 liters of coffee a day, which I think that's, I want to say, first and foremost, I think that's bad. I don't know if that's a good thing or a healthy thing. I definitely don't think it is, but I think it's very interesting, and I'm kind of saddened from the fact that they don't have can't afford milk, is why she's saying it. Her family can't afford milk. So, I hope that's something that can change. But it seems like the child is enjoying coffee. I bet you money that the child, when it grows up to be about 2, it will probably cut the coffee intake and probably hate it. You know, those stories where people say, oh, well, I had peanut butter. I don't eat peanut butter. I don't like chocolate. And you ask them, well, why don't you? And it's like, well, my parents gave me chocolate every single day when I was from 6 to 13 or whatever it was. And so stuff like that, which makes sense. So that covers the news that I find very interesting for this week. So let's get into Hot Shots. And why is Hot Shots? Who is Hot Shots? Who am I? And what is the background of who we are? So who is Hot Shots? Who is Chris Stana? Well, I'll tell you. Hot Shots I started about 12 years ago. And back at that time, my parents actually started a event photography business. And so we were doing a lot of different events, mostly fairs and festivals and things of that nature. And so when that business really kind of took off and we started doing a lot of those type of events, and I did it with my parents at pretty much the age of 21, you know, previous years I was hunting around. I just graduated high school. I was in college or starting my career in college. And, you know, I didn't really want to work for anybody. And I'll tell you the reason for that, and I'll back up a little bit here so you have an understanding. The reason why I didn't really want to work for anybody is, one, I noticed a lot of things that I didn't like, and I got burned a lot. So that would be the first thing I'll tell you for the companies that I worked for. I won't mention any names, but it was just something really hard for me. And when I started working into the corporate world or into some of these businesses, I was one that, and maybe a lot of you who are watching this are the same type of person, but I was someone that always saw that, hey, how could I do something better? How can this be better? And you know, when you're working in a corporate organization or you're working in any kind of big business or just any business in general, a lot of people don't take kindly if you try to find better ways to do things or want to help the system or are very energetic. Sometimes it's frowned upon, to be honest with you. But to take a few steps back, like I said, I actually started out in a military school, was really where I got my foundation. And I started a military school in South Texas called the Marine Military Academy. And that was in halfway through my ninth grade year. I started that shortly after 9/11. And that semester, that half semester I started, I actually went previous summer to what they had was a summer camp. And the summer camp was all about, you know, getting stronger. That's actually what the brochure said, get stronger. And so I thought that was a really cool thing. And I had a buddy in school as well who kind of, his family and his brother actually went through the whole school. So we kind of slowly somehow got into that realm to where public schools weren't working for me. So I decided to do the military school thing. And it really helped me out. I met some incredible people that mentored me. And one of my most honorable mentors, even to this day, is one of the sergeant majors in the Marine Corps who actually guided me through and really taught me a lot about not just kind of business and other things I've taken from that and learned in business, but just kind of from an emotional standpoint and from a visual standpoint of how things are in the real world is really a big portion of what I learned. So that being said, I worked my way from that ninth grader all the way up through senior year in high school to where I actually went from being a guidon, which is someone who actually carries the flag if you've ever been in the military, but someone who carries the flag around and all these different things in the front of the platoon, to where I became basically the head of the barracks. And so my rank went from pretty much private. I worked all the way up until I was a major, cadet major in JROTC. And so I had about a 10-person staff, as well as had about 60 people under me there. And that really was kind of my launching point. to where I knew what I wanted to do in my life, and I knew that I liked to guide people. I really enjoyed leadership. I probably wasn't the best. Matter of fact, I know there was a lot of flaws that I had back then, but at the same time, it kind of got my footing and said, hey, I want to do something for myself. I want to build a company. I want to do things that way. So fast forward, I was about 21 years old, and from there, I actually started this business, Hot Shots Catering, and going back into what my parents did, the event business, fairs and festivals. I actually started to go to these different events with my parents. My mother has always been a big coffee drinker, so that kind of started it to where we would get to these events, 6, 7 in the morning, and I was like, there's no coffee here. There's never any coffee here. We're thinking like Starbucks and stuff like that. And so then it got to the point to where it was like, well, why don't I just do something with coffee? I wanted to do something in the food and hospitality industry. And so we started off, didn't really see much online, and started a business that was going to be for fairs and festivals, all about bringing the gourmet coffee experience to people going to these events. So we started off that. We got into about a year and a half of doing stuff like that. And it really came down to where it was fairly lucrative, but at the same time, we were mainly doing holiday events, holidays in the square, holiday in the town center, for like Louisville, Frisco, all these major cities and towns, and we would be doing a lot of volume, but it was all kind of in a tent, cash basis. And then we started getting a lot of requests and offers to go to people's kind of either open houses or open events for their companies. And that's really where it started to kick off, to where our first client that we ever got, we actually did Party Fest. If you're familiar with that, a lot of you guys watching probably know Party Fest. And that was something that we did about 11 years ago by now, to where actually my father's business and my business, we split a booth. And my first corporate client out of that was actually the Fashion Industry Gallery. And so we did a lot of events for them, pop-up coffee shops for them for years. And then it slowly started taking off to where we had corporations and companies wanting us to come out every day or every other day doing events. And then we went from there to doing weddings. Weddings was probably something that got popular in the last 5 years for us to be doing. Our first wedding was amazing. It was a couple that really, really loved coffee. And ever since then, it really opened my eyes, the emotional aspect of what we can bring to people with our gourmet coffee experience. And so that's something to me that I truly, truly enjoy. And that part of the business, I really enjoy it and love to do weddings and things of that nature. Shortly after that, we've been doing corporate, we've been doing weddings. Then we started getting into more and more conventions. And that's kind of a big source of what we do today, is a lot of convention stuff for hotels, corporations, and traveling conventions. We go all over the United States to do that. So those are kind of the things that have built us up over the years. My main focus with this business has always been quality product, very quick and efficient. If you compare us to a lot of other people or a lot of other services, we're going to be the fastest. We're going to have probably the most high-end product as well. Everything that we utilize comes straight from Italy, and syrups and everything come from France. So, we really built this business to be a gourmet experience. And of course, with the gourmet experience, there's a price point for that. But we feel that we've been the leaders in providing that type of service. And the cool thing about it is, with our system and everything that we utilize, we've actually become something of kind of a leader in the industry, to where we can provide for any size number of an event, for any size, almost any size, length of time of events. So if you had an event for 100 people and you need 2,000 lattes, we could do that. If you had an event where you had 10 people and you needed a barista or two to do that, we can do that too. So, that's kind of the niche where in the coffee world, I'll let you in on a little secret here, coffee was never made to be mobile. The machines and most of the machines that you see on the market are made to go into a coffee shop, stay there, not be moved around, plumbed, and the electricity and everything needed to pull amps and all that type of stuff is a very, very hard achievement, if you will, for a lot of companies that just think, hey, I can get in this business, I can start doing mobile coffee catering and all that type of stuff too. I would say not really. I've seen a lot, many just in the Dallas area that have come and gone, and we've been here for many years. So that's us in a nutshell. That's a little bit about me in a nutshell. If you guys ever want to know more, please ask me in the comments section below. Ask me questions about our business. Ask me questions about me if you like. But I think it's something that I like to share with you so you get a little bit more insight about who I am and what we're trying to do as a company to serve you. Hopefully you that are watching is our customers or our friends from all the social media platforms, as well as just people out there on the YouTube space. So I hope that gives you a little bit of insight about us. And stay tuned, there is another subject I want to go over. I actually have an unboxing for you guys, so hold on. All right, so what I have here is a French press. And this is the other thing I wanted to go over today is, so what is a French press? You know, every time I get on here, I want to teach you guys something about the gourmet coffee experience, not only what we do. And by the way, if you haven't done so yet, I'll take this time to mention this, but definitely go down, like, share, and subscribe this video if you like the content that we're putting out, which I hope you do. If not, if you have enough initiative to hit that down thumb, which I haven't seen anyone do yet, but if you do, hit it and then go in the comments section and tell me what you don't like and tell me what we can do better. I challenge you to do that if anyone's watching this and really truly doesn't like the content, which I don't think anyone does, but if you do like the content, then definitely share it. Let other people know about what you're watching. I watch tons and tons of different types of YouTube videos. I would say I'm not so much now anymore doing Netflix binging or anything else like that, like I know a lot of people do, but I am truly someone that loves to watch certain content on YouTube, and I love finding new content. And so if you're someone like that really kind of checks out YouTube, or even not, I definitely want to tell you guys, definitely go out and maybe start doing that. You don't have to binge watch YouTube, but definitely go out and check out some channels. There's a lot of stuff out there nowadays that you might really, really enjoy. And a lot of the little guys out there, you know, we're just starting our channel, but people like us, the best thing that you can do for us if you like our content is to like it, share it, and definitely subscribe. Those are the three main things. And I think the only three things that you can do, but I digress. Anyways, so let's talk about the Bodum French press. So what is a French press? Well, traditionally what a French press is basically, this is, I guess you would call it like it's a press, but it's basically a large carafe, if you will, that you put hot water in, you put your grounds in, and then you're actually letting them steep for a little bit of time, and then you would stir it at the same time and get that coffee based on your grind kind of saturated with the coffee, and then you would press it all down to compress that coffee to the bottom, really technically kind of squeezing the coffee down in, and then what's left over is your coffee. So in between that level is a screen, and when you're pressing down that screen's capturing all the grounds that really are kind of floating at the top at the beginning of this thing, and you're pressing it down, the grounds and everything are going in the bottom, and you're basically filtering your coffee to the top. It's a great way to have a cup of coffee. A lot of people over the years, from what I've heard, a lot of people claim that this is the best way to produce a cup of coffee. Nowadays you have pour overs and everything else. I hear that's the best way. You know, I'm going to tell you the best way to do a cup of coffee is the way you like to have your coffee. So let me first tell you that. That's something I believe in. Try not to always get caught up into the minutia in the coffee realm of, oh, you have to do it this way. Oh, you have to wait 3 minutes. Oh no, you have to wait 4 or 5 minutes to steep. You know, everyone has their own way. And at the end of the day, if you don't like that flavor of coffee, you don't like that taste of coffee, it doesn't matter. It really matters what you like. And I'll tell you, a lot of places I've been to of people who say, oh, this is absolutely the best coffee, blah, blah, blah. I've tasted it, I don't like it. And then there's places that they might say, oh, their coffee's not that great. I taste it, I like it. Now, for the most part, I'm agreeing with all those people in a certain realm and a certain instinct, but I will tell you, trust your own judgment on the coffee you like. You know, if you don't like Starbucks, for instance, then you don't have to drink Starbucks. There's hundreds, if not thousands, millions of different coffee shops out there for you to get what you like. And so I always suggest go out, try new coffee shops, try something new, try something different, and find out what you like and see the type of styles that people are making that coffee as well. Some people like siphons, some people can tell a difference. If you're that good and you can tell a difference, then I think you should be a barista. I think you should be a roaster. I think you should be some of these things, because it really does take a skill to know the difference in cuppings and things of that nature than just coming up and drinking it. I think you can taste the difference, but at the same time, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of it is all the same, and it changes quickly from temperature to how long it sits, saturating, things of that nature. So let's open this up. This is a Bodum French press. Bodum I love. I'll tell you, my mother has used Bodum for years for coffee needs. I've used Bodum in that same realm over the last 12 years. I love their products. They do a pretty good product for just about everything in the coffee realm. They have great glasses too. If you're looking for vacuum glasses, which is almost like the Yeti cups, but in glass, they have an awesome set of glasses that I highly recommend you get, because it keeps the heat in, keeps it insulated. So let's go over this. I'm just going to open this up and do a little unboxing on this Bodum French press. So this is pretty nice. Pretty standard, I'll tell you that. So I got this at Walmart, to be perfectly clear. I got this at Walmart. I was looking around, just wanted to get another French press. And I'll tell you, you know, there's a lot of different French presses out there, but I can definitely back Bodum's French press. They do a really good job. A lot of differences that you want to look for in some of these French presses is not only from a design standpoint, do you like the design? Some of them are clear that you can see through, some are even plastic. I think this is probably glass, I'm assuming. But some are plastic, some are glass, some are full metal encapsulated, you can't see. I don't necessarily like that, because I think from a barista standpoint, a coffee standpoint, I like to see what's going on. As much as I can see, smell, taste, everything with the whole experience of making a cup of coffee is gonna help me know what the end result's gonna be. But I think a lot of those are more geared towards caterers and people that don't necessarily need to see what's going on in the process. But just from a standpoint, I like to kind of see everything. So yeah, so this just, it looks like everything's all in here. It comes with a little coffee scoop for your grounds. And so as you can see here, this is just a mesh to capture all those grounds when you put them inside, okay? Let's see what else we got in here. We got some kind of manual or instruction. It's in the bottom of this glass. French press, tells you how to make it, scoop, all this good stuff. So basically what you're gonna do here is you're gonna fill this up with your hot water. Okay, well actually you're gonna put your coarse grounds in first. Then you're gonna fill it up with your hot water. And what's gonna happen is the grounds and everything are kind of come to the top. And you're gonna take your stir, you get a nice stir, spoon, whatever, and you're gonna let it steep between 3 to 4 minutes, and you wanna stir it and all that in that time frame. Then I would quickly put this on top because you don't want any of the heat and everything to come out. Now, the interesting thing with the French press, if you go to your local grocery store or whatever, and you see the different levels that you can grind, if they have a grinder there for you to use, you want to just kind of be mindful. And this is going back to how the end result of a coffee in a French press is going to taste. And like I said, it's purely up to you. But for instance, Lavazza. I'm taking Lavazza as an example because this is something I see all the time with our products. Lavazza does their grinding a lot finer than you would see with a Folgers grind. So if you're buying your coffee already pre-ground, which is a topic for another day, but if you're buying your coffee pre-ground, try it in a French press. If you're gonna go out and buy a French press, you're gonna utilize a French press, you're gonna wanna try to see how that, how coarse or how ground the ground is, if you will, the grind is. So the finer the grind is gonna be kind of more for your espresso type grind. And then the coarser, you're gonna be going into kind of the realm of this and pour overs and things of that nature. This probably sits a little bit between medium and more of a coarse ground when you're doing something like this, because you're gonna be steeping it for about 3 to 4 minutes. And then you're gonna know also by the time when you put this lid on and you start pressing down how firm or how light, how easy it is to push down is gonna also let you know that as well. So, but that's basically it. You'd have your water, your grounds inside here. You put this on top, close this on, and as you can see, there's a little vent here, just like if you were making tea or anything, you can choose this so you're ready to pour it. And then you can just push down. You know, a lot of people push down and they kind of just, you know, have their morning coffee out of this. There's a couple mindsets there. One is, yes, you can leave the coffee in the bottom of this thing and pour it, but just note, if you were someone, like for instance me, I would probably only have 1 cup out of this and then I'm good. You know, most people are probably that way. You're probably not going to be drinking this whole thing. You're probably going to be putting this out for your breakfast table in the morning, and you and your wife or whoever is going to be sharing this with you, and then you're going to be good to go. If you're someone who likes to have several cups of coffee, which I know some of you are out there, I would take this, brew it, and pour it in a carafe or pour it in another thing, so that it doesn't keep steeping, it doesn't get start changing or keep changing. More than likely though, the coffee will probably get cold before you actually see a difference in taste, but it's a better mindset that if you are someone that's going to do several cups, I would just take it, brew it, pour it into another carafe or another container, and then be able to enjoy it that way for a longer period of time. The other thing I'll mention to you, and this is something big that a lot of people don't do. I don't care if it's this, if you're doing any container that you are going to be kind of making coffee in, or you know, you're going to be using, let's say you're going to be brewing the coffee in here and then you're going to be pouring it into a carafe of some sort. You want to preheat all those vessels. Okay, we do it big here, and even, believe it or not, a lot of caterers and other people don't know that. So if you preheat, and the main reason is right now this glass is probably sitting at I don't know, 70 degrees. I mean, it feels actually pretty cool. So, you know, what happens when you take your 165 to, you know, maybe 180, 200, 210 cup of coffee and you pour it into here and you start brewing it and everything? That glass or metal containers are big on this. They're taking that heat away. And so then you're left with now maybe 150 degree hot water or coffee that's sitting in here. So that's something to think about. Same thing if you're pouring it into another vessel. This transferring, normally you're gonna probably lose between 10 to, I wouldn't say 20 degrees, but you're gonna lose something going in from one to another. And that's a big thing, and that's something to be mindful. We're very mindful of that when we do catering gigs. Believe it or not, when you take coffee and you put it from you know, your brewing system into a bigger container or something like that, you're losing about 10 to 20 degrees. And then after that, you're losing more and more. So it's more important to definitely have your vessels preheated, whatever you're using. So keep that in mind too. But other than that, I will say if you want something nice like this, very simple, I found this at Walmart. I like to go to Walmart and just see what can I get locally that's great for coffee needs. And this is definitely one of them. This is definitely kind of a metal stainless steel piece here. And like I said, this has been around for years. So it's definitely something to look at if you want to get into doing some French presses. This guy here was about 20 bucks at Walmart. Kroger sells some. They might even sell these. I think the last couple times I've been there though, they sell a lot smaller versions. So yeah, take a look at this. This is called their Kenya French press. It's an 8 cup at, I don't tell you the ounces, but I'm assuming it's an 8 cup at, you know, 6 ounces, something like that, or less. So anyways, that concludes the show for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Leave some comments down below. I'd like to know what you guys think of our show so far. Are you learning enough? What would you like to hear about? What would you like to learn more about with the coffee experience? I try to kind of put things in various different directions. So I try to get stuff for people who just absolutely love coffee, but then there's a lot of people that come here that are just strictly here for the Hot Shots experience and knowing more about us and what we do. So like this channel, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.